Brothers and the occasional sister, come into my office and I'll tell you a story. It's a story that comes with a warning at the beginning of it, just for some of you that don't like stuff that's graphic. Somebody actually dies in this story, so if you don't want to hear something about that, then probably tune out now. About 2.5 years ago, over 2.5 years ago actually, I got a phone call from Murray, my neighbour, my old landlord. I bought the property off him eventually after living there for many years, and he said, look, I've got a cattle beast that's got cancer on the end of its nose, a big lump, and it's become infected and there's maggots in it and it stinks and it should be put down. Can you go and knock it over for me? And I said, yeah, no, I'll go and get that and I'll knock it over in the skin and I'll dog tucker it. So I grabbed my 308 and took my son with me, Yona, who was with me at the time. He was staying with me. He was just in transition, Yona. He was about to go to Dunedin University. And I said, can you come up the paddock and give me a hand with this? And I'd been feeling a bit crook that morning. I don't know what it was. I'd just been feeling like I had a flu or something and I wasn't feeling top notch. So I grabbed my butcher gear and jumped in the ute and went up the top of the paddock. Stuck a couple of bullets in the mag, just in case one didn't work. And walked up to this old cow who I've been seeing since I'd ever been there on the farm, an old Highland cattle. She looked at me and I got up at point blank and shot her. Right, not between the eyes. Cow has a bone that goes down the head, so you want to go to one side of that and just above the eye in the ear. And boomfa, dropped her straight away and cut her throat. When I bent down to cut her throat, I had this horrible feeling in my jaw and my elbow and my shoulder. Really like tingly feeling. And I didn't feel very flash, and I stood up and I was a bit dizzy and I thought, oh gee, that was weird, and got my balance, and then I started to skin it and I got this funny feeling again, and a real sort of tight feeling in my chest, and I was profusely sweating, and I gave the knife to my son. I said, son, you're going to have to skin this cattle beast. I'm actually not feeling too flash. He said, Dad, I've never skinned a cattle beast before. And I said, well, now's the time to learn because I can't do it. I said, don't worry if you fuck it up. It's only for dog tucker. Try and keep the skin if you can, but if you can't, do your best. I had to go and have a lie down. I went inside and had a shower. Anyway, later that night, I called my girlfriend at the time, and I said, honey, I'm feeling really bad. I think something's gone wrong with me. You might need to take me to hospital. And so Awi ran me to hospital, and they done all the tests on me and everything, and all the tests you can think of in hospital. And it was during the time of COVID, and the lady said to me, look, have you had your vaccine? I said, no. She said, oh, well, you should have. And I said, yeah, well, that's not the issue here. I haven't got COVID, something else. She said, yeah, well, she said, we'll still look at you anyway. I said, damn right you'll still look at me, as if I'd been unvaccinated. She was angry that I wasn't vaccinated. Something I never regretted not doing, was not getting vaccinated. Anyway, she was kind of rude to me. Her name was Anne. And they measured my heart and they did all this stuff, and she said, no, you've got none of the big ticket items, you're good to go. And I said, look, I don't feel flash at all. Anyway, long story short, 2.5 weeks later, I was walking up the hill at the back of the farm there, and I couldn't even get the top of this pain in my chest and my shoulder again. And this time I phoned my nurse, Margaret, and she's the nurse that nursed me through cancer when I had it, and she ran me to hospital, and she pushed a bit harder. I got checked for any blood clots. They x-rayed me, did all the stuff, put me on the ECG machine, I think it's called, and the heart was going all over the place. And I said, that's not very regular. And the guy was, oh no, it's okay. And Margaret said, is it? And I said, I don't think it's okay. And it was sort of irregular, and no, you're right. And they sent me home. So they sent me home and just told me to get some rest. Well, they sent me home with virtually end-stage heart disease. My left anterior descending artery was very occluded. And I only know that because I paid myself $3,300 to go to Nelson Radiology and to get a scan and to find out that how occluded I was. And Nick Fisher, the cardiologist, who was a mate of mine, he didn't charge me himself, he's a good bastard, but he did, I think they call it a trans-echocardiogram, where they measure you on the machine you run. It's a stress test, and he decided that I had angina pain and that I had atherosclerosis in my coronary arteries. And I was supposed to go on 5 medications and have a stent put in there. Long story short is I did a whole lot of research and got in contact with a guy called Dr. Carbel Beeselstein, another cardiologist, and I followed a different protocol. I went down a different lane. I got none of the procedures. I didn't get the stent, never needed the stent, and I never got any of the drugs, didn't take any of them. And within 3 weeks, my low lipid protein, LDL, was down by half what it was, and by 6 months there was no angina pain. And anyway, I got well. But anyway, at that time, my nephew Mikhail was supposed to come and stay with me, and it was all designed from, like, we'd been looking after Mikhail. He'd been going through some real struggles in his life and really struggling with stuff, and he was not in a good headspace. I personally felt he was suicidal, and I'd been looking after Mikhail a lot over the years. He was my sister's son, and he'd been adopted out because my sister wasn't well, and I looked after him quite a bit. He'd stay with me during lockdown, and we got quite close, and he was a very, very talented person, highly talented. He could rap faster than anybody I'd ever seen online or anywhere in the world. 2016, he won this rap competition. King Kapisi voted him the best rapper, and he was going to go places. He was a lyrical genius, and he was just a lovely, lovely guy. He was supposed to come and stay with me just not long after I'd come out of hospital the second time, but my brother Tristan said, "He can't stay with you, bro. You're a sick man. You need to look after yourself." So my son Yona said, "Well, I'll take him with me on my way to university in Dunedin." And so they set off. Now, the day they set off, I gave my son a big hug because I was really sick and he didn't know I was going to be okay. And I said to him, "Son, I am going to get well. I'm not going to take any of the medications. I'm not going to get the operation, the stent. I'm going to do it a different way, and I'm going to do it my way, and I'm going to succeed, and I'm going to be well. And on top of that, when I am well, one day you and I will surf together. And to do that, to prove you that I'm going to get well, I'm going to buy a surfboard," which I did. I bought a 9.9 Malibu single fin from Christchurch. And so one day we will surf together, and we had a few tears, and he hugged me. It was an emotional moment because I love my son very much, and I've been his dad since he was born. Although he's not my biological child, I've always, even, and when his mum and I broke up when he was like 3 or 4, I stayed by him because he needed a father, and his dad wasn't around till later on. So we've always been very close, and he said goodbye, and they set off. He took Mikhail with him. He was helping Mikhail. They had a conversation in their car on the way down about life and everything, and Mikhail said that he felt there wasn't much he could actually, I'm getting a phone call come through, but I'm going to ignore that right now. He said there wasn't much he could really see himself doing or be happy with. There wasn't much in his life that really was going well, and that he felt that there was no future for him. And they stopped off on the way at Maria Falls and parked up, and he did some rap in the car, and Yona said, "How are you feeling now?" And he said, "I think I've actually got about a 10% chance I could make life work still. There's some hope." So he perked up a little bit, and they both decided they'd go for a swim at Maria Falls, which you shouldn't do there because it's aerated water and it's very dangerous. They didn't jump off the waterfall, but they were beside the waterfall. Anyway, Yona went first, and when he jumped in there, he realised it was very, very aerated and it wasn't good. So he was about to tell Mikhail, "Hey, don't come in," because Yona's very experienced. He's done a lot of whitewater kayaking. He'd previously saved a girl that had drowned not so long ago when he was working in the North Island at River Valley Kayaks, and he's a strong swimmer, a strong boy. But Mikhail was sort of a bit down on his luck and not so strong, and he didn't want him to jump in, but he jumped in anyway. Yona swam to the bank, and then Mikhail jumped in. Now at this time it was 2 minutes to midday, and I was in the paddock feeling pretty crook with this sore pain in my heart, and I looked up and I saw a hawk swooping down on a juvenile hare. It was almost full grown, just about a full hare, or it could have been a female hare, a smaller one. It wasn't real tiny. And a second hawk came down. They were attacking this thing, and they were actually trying to nail it. And I took my phone out to film it because it's something I've always wanted to film. And I just started to film it, and it was a brilliant bit of photography going on. But as that happened, I had this really strong feeling in my heart to reach out to Mikhail, to call him. And at exactly midday, I stopped filming, even though I missed out on what I wanted to, because I just had to contact him. I desperately tried to call him. I felt something. I could feel my heart going hard. I want to talk about this now. It's always hard to talk about this. And I could just feel something was wrong. And I tried to call him. And, wow, he didn't answer the phone, did he? Because he was swimming in that water. And then I tried to call my son and Yona, and couldn't get through on either of them at midday. What happened next was Mikhail got into trouble and started to drown, and Yona had just come in from the freezing water, and he was exhausted himself, but he could see Mikhail was in trouble, and he shouldn't have gone back in there, because it would almost spell certain death for him, because he was already depleted of his energy. But he did, because he's the bravest man I know on this planet, and he swam back out, risking his life, and there was nobody around to help him. And when he got to Mikhail panicked and put his hands and his legs and pushed Yona down, climbing on top of him, and Yona went right down in the aerated water, and he looked up and he couldn't get to the top. And then he noticed that Mikhail had gone unconscious, was just drowned, and Yona couldn't get to the top, and he couldn't hold his breath any longer. He was down for so long, going around and around upside down in the water, looking up at the light, but couldn't get to the top. And eventually he decided he was just going to open his mouth and breathe in the water, because he couldn't hold it any longer. And just as he was about to do that, he had this vision of me reaching down to him, holding my hand out to him, saying, "Son, we're going surfing now. I'm well, we're going surfing. Come on, we're going surfing." I don't know how that message got to him. I mean, we weren't going surfing. I don't know how that message got to him, but still gives me a lot of pain to talk about this. It's pain to the heart, because, you know, it's family, and I lost somebody at that moment. I nearly lost my son. What unfolded next was he had this vision of me calling out to him. Now at this exact same time, it's midday, and I'll explain later how we know the times are the same. And I'm trying to call him desperately, because I can feel something's not right. I don't know what's going on. It's just a feeling. I don't know how the information's coming to me, and I don't believe in that shit, but something. I was panicking enough to stop filming that here and that hawk diving on it, because I could feel something was going on at that time. He managed to get to the top, and when he got to the top, he was drowning too. He couldn't hold his breath, and he was struggling to stay up, and he was going round and round. Now at that time, at midday, there was four people, two couples, and one of them was filming her partner, and as she was filming him, in the background you could hear Mikhail going, "Help!" And he turned around and says, "Oh, there's someone down there." So that was the point that Mikhail was drowning before Yona jumped out. They weren't sure about going down there or what it was. They were almost a bit fearful in some way, but they eventually went down very slowly. And by the time they got down there, all they saw was Yona going around and around the whirlpool. Mikhail had now drowned, and Yona was drowning. But when you see somebody in a pool, you can't tell if they're swimming or drowning. You can't tell if a person's drowning, because it looks like they're just swimming. All you see is a head. You don't see what's going underneath. You don't see that they can't talk. So they just see this person going around. They're not sure what's happening. And Yona realised they were just blankly staring at him, and they weren't trying to help in any way. And he was right out in the middle of this whirlpool. What could they do? He shouted out, "Help!" one time, and that almost made him sink. He did it because he had nothing left in the tank. Now he had one chance to get to this bit of bank before he went under the waterfall, and it pushed him down, and he drowned too. And by a miracle, he just got there in the last moment. He only just swam out to the outside. And they tried bits of wood and throwing wood to him and stuff to float. There was nothing there. Today, after the drowning, there's now a ring there to throw to people, but that wasn't there then. The drowning, they put that in place. If there'd been a ring there, Mikhail could have lived too. You know, he would have lived, because there was nothing to float him. That's all it would have taken, was a life-saving ring, but that's been since installed. The guy got Yona's hand at the last minute and dragged him up, and he'd taken a lot of water, and he was almost unconscious, and he got to the car somehow. He was hypothermic, and the ambulance soon arrived, and he was taken to hospital, and he spent 2 days in hospital. and he was a very sick boy. On the way in the ambulance, he phoned me. I got this phone call. It was probably about 2:30 in the afternoon, I think. And when I saw his number coming up, I knew it was going to be bad news. I knew there was something going to be telling me something. And he said, "Dad." I said, "What, son?" He says, "Mikhail's drowned." And I said to him, "I know, son." I just knew that one of them, something badly had happened. I thought both of them had, and it came that close to it. Now, I don't know what it is with us human beings. I don't know how we have this thing where we can communicate from that distance, but that day I could feel everything going on, and it was that conversation I had with my son before he left. One day I'm going to be well, and we're going to surf again. And that day is not far away either. It's not far away at all. I've had 2.5 years of sticking to a whole plant-based diet to halt and reverse heart disease. And I'm not out of the woods yet, but I'm a lot better. I run 5k every second day. Sometimes I go more. I'm physical. I hunt. I fish. I still have bad days. I still sometimes have atrial fibrillation, but I am a lot better, and I am getting better, and I will surf one day with my son. That is a given. So down the track, just very recently, another tragedy struck. My daughter's first boyfriend, Damo, who was a lovely guy, not the Damo that stayed with me, another guy, and my son's flatmate and good mate, they were kayaking together, and Damo drowned, and my son did everything he could within his power to try and save him, and he lost his life on the river that day. Both my children live extreme lives with what they do, and I would never ever tell them not to, because I've also lived an extreme life, and sometimes luck is involved, but when it's your time, it's your time, and it was Damo's time. So my son has had to deal with 3 drownings, one of which he saved. The first one was a girl, and the second one was my nephew, which we lost, and the third one was Damo. And it's traumatizing. It's fucking traumatizing. And I'm so proud of my son. I think about my son every day, and I contact him most days. And I'm so proud of him. He's the bravest man I know. And we never ever know when we're going to lose the people in our life that we love. We never know what's going to happen around the corner. My son sent me a video 2 days ago of him getting smacked severely in the back of the head by another kayak, to the point that he's off work now with concussion. He's lucky he's not in a wheelchair. And I know that he will go back into the river again with his kayak, and he'll do it again. And I know that one day I could get the phone call or get the feeling that I've lost him or my daughter, because they both are extreme. My daughter's equally, if not more, extreme. And I just live with that as a parent. But I also know my children are living their truth, and I would never rob that from them, because that's all we've got in this life, is to live our truth. And they are both hearty children. They're not children, they're adults now. They're in their 20s. To me, they're always children because I'm their dad. But we don't know when we're going to lose people in our life that we love. And I want to remind you parents that, and I want to remind you children that, to your parents around Christmas time right now, that all the people in your life, just forget about everything else that's going on, all the shit that you think's important. The only thing that's really important is the people in your life that you love and the people that love you. That is all that matters. Cars, boats, houses, good looks, all that stuff fucking disappears. It all goes. But what doesn't go is the love that you carry for the people that you love, your family, your friends. It's all we have. And your good mates as well. I got a handful of good mates that check on me, that they're real good mates, and they know who they are. And I don't want too many mates, because a lot of people want to be my mate, but they're not actually real mates, and I work that out very quickly. They're people that want something back. The people that actually care about me as much as they care about themselves and their friends and family, they're my mates, and I've got a handful of those, and that's plentiful. And I've got my family. People will tell you they care, but a lot of the time they don't really care, and you find out who they are when things go down. Like, I needed to do some haymaking the other day. I put a little thing on Facebook, and I found out who my mates were. People turned up that I hadn't met before. They were my mates, and there's Also, some of my mates turned up too. And other mates said, look, I'm sorry, I can't make it, bro. I would be, and I understood that. But your real true mates are there when you're on your ass, when you're knocked down, when you're at the absolute bottom of the barrel. They're there for you. And when I was sick in hospital, and I've been sick twice in hospital, my real mates were there. And I've got people in my life that I will never abandon, and that also I will give the world to, that were there. And I had a relationship at the time with someone I loved that wasn't there, and that's no longer. That's what happens. So if you have someone in your life right now that's you're taking just for granted, I'm going to see such and such, just remember, life can be like that, brothers, and the occasions is that you can lose people you love, and the flick of a switch, the snap of fingers, just a bang, just like that can happen, and you just lose that person, and you have to deal with that. You have to go through a process of grief, and you've got to keep on doing your shopping and pay your bills and do your work and pay your taxes and keep on going while you're grieving, because life doesn't stop, and then you've got to get back into it again. So that's my story, and the moral of the story is just that. If you have someone in your life that you really love, listen, just make sure they know it every day. Tell them you're proud of them, tell them you love them, tell them what they mean to you. It doesn't matter if you're a bloke and it's another brother. Say it to your male friends. It doesn't make you a homosexual. It just means that you're a man that loves another man, and that's a fucking good thing to have, because us men don't show enough love to our brothers enough. We don't have enough bonding. We don't have enough socialization. And God, don't we suffer when our girlfriends leave us? Because most of the time, all of our friends are their friends, because they're the social creatures that bring them together, and we've suddenly got no friends. Women are a lot stronger than us. Women live longer than us. They live 5 years or more longer than men. We don't live so long. We live actually harder lives. Emotionally, we have hard lives because we're stupid. We don't set up big networks for support. We don't know how to ask, and we're afraid when we're asked it'll make us look weak. Got to set up your networks so you've got support. When women lose their partners, they have a whole lot of girlfriends to fall back on that carry them. When your girlfriend or your wife is you, bro, where are you? You might have one mate you go to the pub and drink with. That's not enough. You need a support network of men around you that keep you strong, that have got your back. You need that. We're all very, very brittle. We all have lumpy bits in our life where we struggle with stuff. None of us are immune to not having that. We're all made of that stuff where we feel at some time we can't cope. I'm a strong person. I've survived so much, but I know that in the future I will have a weak moment again. Right now I'm strong as I sit talking to you, reflecting on my nephew that I lost and my son that I almost lost, and emotionally it affects me deep in my heart, but I'm strong, and I will be strong. And the reason I will be strong is I have children that rely on me to be strong. I have to be strong for them. I have to be strong for that. They need to have a father that's got his head screwed on, that's going to be there if their lives come unstuck. I need to be there for them, and I also need to be there for my community and the people around me, not just for myself. And you need to be strong too. That means taking action of creating networks where you have a support network if something goes wrong. So you've got a bloke there that can stand beside you. You know, my mate Simon checks on me regularly. He goes, bro, check. And I tell him if I'm not okay. Yeah, bro, I'm having a terrible fucking day today, actually, mate. I'm really struggling with this, and we might crunch some ideas and talk about it. And equally, he knows that if he's having a bad day, same as my mate Richard, he'll phone me up, here you go, mate, and I'll tell him the truth. Craig, another one down south, I always try to help him out, and he tries to help me. You know, we got our little network spread out, but you've got to have people close by too. It's no good just being online chatting to people. You've got to have people that are right there, so you get that pat on the back, that handshake, or that hug, or whatever it is you need. So make sure you build your networks. Make sure you tell those that you love them why they are here, because you never know when that day comes. It's Christmas time. It's a mad time of year. I don't buy into it myself. I think it's a load of commercial wank. I think it's just for the retailers, and that's good for them. But I don't. I do give my children something at Christmas time because it's just something I've always done. But I don't think it's any more special. I think every day should be like Christmas. Every day we should be like celebrating. We should be celebrating every day that we're alive and we're here and we're in a peaceful country. So I hope you're having a good Christmas, and I hope you enjoyed this Bro Chick Club video. I'm going to bugger off and go do some work because I've had one of those days where everything's broken and fall to bits and I've got no further ahead. Bit of a serious talk, but the Bro Chick Club goes that way sometimes. And I think sometimes it's okay to reflect and to talk openly about these things with our brothers. I think it's important that us men do it. We don't do it enough. We need to just stay on track and, you know, get each other's back and look after each other as much as we can. So create your own network. Any of you out there that are struggling right now, join a club, join a forum, just get some men around you. Don't isolate yourself. It's unhealthy. We are social creatures. We're not supposed to be alone. And for God's sake, do not worry about stuff. When you worry about stuff, it doesn't change anything. It doesn't do you any good. It doesn't change the past that you're worrying about or what's going to happen in the future. Worrying is just a waste of energy. It does you no good. It's unhealthy for you. Don't worry. One negative thought can kill you. So just get rid of that shit and keep yourself positive. Keep yourself entertaining positive thoughts in your mind all the time. Be proactive at doing that. Be mindful. Catch yourself out. Okay, brothers, I'm out of here. I've got to go and do a few jobs. Go steady, and I will see you soon. See you later.